All right, it's another money-making Monday. Let's review our options for the week with a 5-year 10-year dollar-denominated bond offer set to close out for the 30th of August this week. As well, the oil and gas sector is taking a lot of the shine, maintaining a 4-month buy-side run up 27% from its April's closing. So we're going to spotlight some of the best-performing stocks within that sector. And on Friday, last Friday, the most powerful central banker gave the nod to rate cuts ahead. What's the outlook across the emerging markets? All this and much more on the show today. This is Market Pulse on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics. We're bringing you that comprehensive breakdown, as always, of market activities for the day. And I am your host, Joanna Mustapha. Let's begin with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The week kicked off in the green, thankfully, right? The market is closing in the green. Though it gained marginally, it's up 0.07%, which is a fair start if you ask me for the week. We now have the all-share index at 95,973.45. That's up 255.40. So, I mean, that's what we're seeing today as well. The market capitalization is now at 55.16 trillion naira. So yeah, basically a year-to-date gain on the NGX of 28.35%. We're seeing a total of 28 stocks gaining today, while on the other hand, 18 stocks, I beg your pardon, were on the losing side. Top gainers, Eterna Oil, the fourth best performing oil and gas company on the NGX, marked gains of 10% today. This brings its share price to 23 naira 10 kobo. We know that the stock is gradually recovering from a retracement that saw it fall to 12 naira. That was in May. Gains here, some are saying, is driven by their strong Q2 earning results. That they saw revenue spike up 112% year on year to 147 million naira, as gross profit also climbed to 103%. So this announcement is definitely raising market sentiments and driving the share price there with Eterna Oil. Okomu Oil as well continues its bullish run. This week it gained, this week, yes, today specifically, it gained 9.99% in its share price. It's up to 379 naira 80 kobo. That was also followed by RT Briscoe, which gained 9.96%. Its share price now at 2 naira 98 kobo. The stock has kicked off the week with a share price of, had kicked off the year, I beg your pardon. Earlier in the year, beginning of the year, it was 16 kobo. So we're seeing where it's at now. This makes it the third best performing stock year to date. And the fourth top gainer, when we come to the fourth top gainer today, it's the second best performing stock of the year. We're talking Oando. Oando gained 9.93% today. Its share price is now at 52 naira 60 kobo. And again, this is a stock that started off, about a year ago. Its share price was just 5 naira. So quite tremendous gains there. If we come to the top losers, Transcorp Power is a top loser today. It hasn't been such a good run for the Transcorp group, its subsidiaries, right? Last week it was Transcorp Hotel. Today it's Transcorp Power, and today it's the recently listed Transcorp Power. It dipped 9.99%. Its share price is now down to 335 naira 30 kobo. Other top losers for the day include Abi, UCAP. Also, I guess investors are taking profits there. UPL, Unilever, and Access Core completing the top losers list. So that's pretty much the performance on the NGX today. After this break, we'll be getting a thorough breakdown of activities of late on the NGX. Uade Ahime, head of strategy at Nairametrics, will be joining me for that breakdown, so stay tuned. All right, the Nigerian oil and gas sector has maintained a 4-month buy-side run, up 27% from April's closing. The positive stock performance of the companies in the sector has contributed to an 8% August rise. Market volume on the sector's index is currently at 310 million shares in the third week of August. So I believe this is the fourth week. So that's a spike of 103% when you compare that to the volume recorded in the entire month of July. Now, to provide us with more insights on this and market activities for the day is the head of strategy and public affairs, Uade Ahime. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joanna. It's great to be here.
It is indeed. Now, let's focus on what's happening within the oil and gas sector, especially, with the oil stocks, and we're seeing them some sort of rebound, right, on strong buy pressures. And if you compare that to what happened earlier in the year, we saw, the Naira devaluation impact them, significantly. So what's the shifts now, and, why are they now coming up on top of their game?
Well, a number of things have happened in the industry. And at the beginning of the year, we're continually saying that the CBN needed to stabilize the exchange rate.
Right.
And when you start to get some form of stability, then people know where exactly Mondays should be going to. Not today is one rate, tomorrow it changes to another rate. But we've seen a lot of stability since about April, and we can see that coming into the oil and gas market. Strong performance from 2023 year ends, for those who had 2023 year ends, and those who had 2024 year ends in the first quarter of 2024. So when you look at people like, organizations like Seplat that declared an interim dividend just half year this year, 63% growth. When you look at an organization like Eterna Oil, right, 43% growth. You heard again another 10% today. Yeah. And those are because the earnings have shown to be strong. And we know that market will continually be strong. Why? Because one, PMS, diesel, and the rising cost of those things. And I think the other part of it is that I guess a lot of them are focusing on their operational expenses so that they can manage and ensure that they are still above the red. But the big deal is Owando.
Owando, yes, we can't have this conversation without bringing up Owando.
Owando is the big deal. 341% as of Friday.
Yeah, so that makes them
another 9.9%.
Yes, that makes them the second best performing stock. But there are those who are saying that they haven't released earning results yet, right? Their earning results are expected to come out by the end of September. The only thing some have identified as driving the stock is news, right? The news of the acquisition. Yeah. So in the long term, do you see this rally stretching out? Do you think that the stock right now is overvalued? Do you think it's just some sort of overexcitement for the news? And do you expect the price to settle ahead?
So let's start. We need to bring some context to Owando. We remember sometime in July there was a court ruling when the minority shareholders where the court said that the minority shareholders could not be forced to sell. They were asking to delist from the exchange. Yeah. 7 naira, 7 kobo was the price that they were looking at then. But today, with the big deal that they had with Nigerian Oil Company, you've seen that there is going to be that potential for growth in terms of
potential. It's still a potential.
Well, yeah, it is. It will be a potential because you've just paid for that investment. Right. It's now time for you to start to try and milk that investment. So you're still going to put so much money into it. So market operators, investors are looking at it that these are good potentials for Nigeria. And I think for me, the other signal for me about that is also the fact that with this Owando deal being signed off and completed, we know there's another deal that is on the table that could probably now come back, meaning that oil and gas investment that we've been expecting, and the government have been saying that we would start to see those investments will start coming. I'm speaking about the mobile Seplat deal, right. which has also been on the table for a while. And so these are the things I think are pushing those markets up. Now the question really, whether it's short term or long term, is the fact that is Owando still willing to delist from the market? And when their earnings come out at the end of September, then people will now start, or investors will now start to look at that critically, because the last reports from Owando, 2021, long time. Yeah. And we know all the struggles they've been through.
Investor standpoint, would it be a long-term or short-term investment in Owando?
I think for now, I would say short-term until they come out with their earnings and see. So, and the other thing about it is, if I'm a minority shareholder that wanted to exit and they were offering me 7 naira, 7 kobo, this might just be a good time for me to exit. So these are things I need to consider, or do I still want to stay back with all the potentials that we see from that deal with Owando?
All right, fair enough.
Now, sorry.
Fair enough. Now let's look at, let's zone out to another sector, the banking sector. We know that with the banking sector, it was projected, right, at the beginning of this second half of the year that they would be the major drivers on the NGX. But have we really seen that? What's your assessment of their performance so far? Are they driving enough activity, or, on the NGX, or other sectors overtaking the banking sector?
So the good thing about this is on Saturday we had a program on Nairametrics, the industrial outlook,
Yes,
that we looked at the banking sector in detail, and we could see that a number of the things that are going on in the banking sector are based on the fact that the banks need to capitalize. More banks are going out to offers, and one thing we got from that session from one of the players within the market is the cost of you trading the bank shares on the floor seems to be more expensive than the offers that they're putting out in the market.
Fair.
That
Okay.
is not the usual signal, meaning that investors believe that this is a good place to be. This is the banking sector beginning to have, what you hear that some people say, oh, when I bought it in 2005, it was 20x, but now we're seeing it between 2x and 4x at their lowest margins in a very, very long time. Yes, it will drive that market, but let's remember that it's a long journey in terms of capitalization, and this is only just the first part.
Fair enough. So, I mean, long term, like you said, it's a long journey. You can't just expect to step in now, but there's value here from what you're saying.
There is value, in my opinion.
Okay, let's shift to the fixed income side of things right now. We know that this week, the dollar-denominated bonds, first of its kind in Nigeria, I believe the offer will be closing out by the 30th of August. And, we've also had the FGN savings bond. There are a lot of people drawing comparison, especially Nigerians within the country who may not have dollars, are thinking, okay, should I, convert my Naira, and get some dollars and tap into this. So just for a moment, juxtapose, especially looking at the rates, looking at the tenure and all those other factors, FGN saving bonds or dollar-denominated, bonds, for an investor standpoint?
That's a brilliant question. I always like to take the cautious part, and I think I would stay with the FGN saving bonds.
Okay.
Why? Because when I look at it over time, are you with me? How much am I going to get in terms of interest that are going to come in?
Right.
And with all the things happening globally, and I'm sure we'll talk about that soon.
Definitely.
All the things happening globally, what will be the effect of the Fed's speculations on Friday
on exchange rates,
on capital markets across the world?
So, I mean, this is a time to proceed with caution, right? And should I say somewhat play safe? Risk appetite, should it be high at a time like this?
Risk appetite should be moderated.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you so much, Uade Ahime. You're staying with us for the second part of the show. Of course, up next, the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, he laid the groundwork last Friday for interest rate cuts ahead, though they declined to, provide exact indications on the timing or the extent of rate cuts, but markets reacted and outlooks for emerging markets we know are shifting. More on this after the break. Okay, you're still tuned in to Market Pulse. On Friday, August 23rd, the U.S. Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, delivered a much-awaited speech at the Jackson Hole Symposium, hinting a possible interest rate cut in the coming months. Now, considering its impact on, other emerging economies and the hints, to mirror this move to other central bankers across the world, is this a move to buy into, to sell, not support, or hold, right? Being different about. We have Uade Ahime, Head of Strategy and Public Affairs at Nairametrics, joining us to guide us in making that decision, buy, sell, or hold. Great to have you still with us, Uade Ahime. So, I mean, looking at what's happened so far, right, with that sort of announcement, right, he didn't give any specifics on Friday. How did the markets react in the immediate to this news?
I think the markets were a bit more reactive to it. We saw the dollar go down against other currencies, and the markets as a whole, just everybody have been waiting for this announcement, and the anticipation was quite high. So at the end of the day, I think this is something that we had been expecting since the first quarter.
Right.
So market reaction was positive to it, to a large extent, and that's what we should be looking at when finally, hopefully, by mid-September, he will tell us how much basis points will either go down, and we now start to see what investors are going to play like in the capital markets, especially in the US market.
Yeah, yes. But we know that outlooks are already shifting just with what was said on Friday. We sort of know that there's a rate cut coming. We don't know, the percentage just yet, but it's coming. So we know the outlook would have changed. So, I mean, what do you think would have changed or will change in outlook when it comes to currencies, when it comes to inflation numbers, and also the NGX itself? Are we going to see more inflows?
So to a large extent, if the rates get cut, because I was also listening to an analysis that was done by my partner Uade, specifying or speculating where he thinks the rates will go down, about whether it's about 25 basis points or 50 basis points, but depending. But this could be over a period of time. So what we start to see is that more investors who have moved their monies back into America to invest, because at 5.5 interest rates, why am I going anywhere else?
Right.
We'll now start looking for higher,
more attractive rates.
Yeah, more attractive rates.
Yes.
And Nigeria with treasury bills as high as 20, 21%, the bonds going much higher. This might be a good place. Africa too would start to see that, because we've seen the cost of bonds going up recently. So these are things that investors are going to start looking at and saying, wow, this is an opportunity to start moving funds into this area. So what do we expect in terms of inflows? Yes, we don't know how quickly, but we expect that within the short to medium term, there will be more inflows, which will help the currency generally. Right. I'm not telling anybody that the currency is going to appreciate against the dollar. I'm just saying that
a stronger dollar, a weaker dollar?
Weaker dollar.
Right. So that's...
and because there's going to be a weaker dollar, what that means is that more inflows are going to come in, meaning that the market is going to have more stability over time, hopefully as quickly as possible. When we look at it into the capital market also, we know that this year, because of all the incentives that have been put into the economy, with the treasury bills and so on, we've seen a rise from last year of 8% foreign investment to about 20% across the year. That might increase, and it should increase. And that's why I was saying these are good times for banking stocks who people are going to be looking at. Do I take up the offer? Do I buy on the floor? And so on and so forth.
So a lot of opportunities.
So a lot of opportunities. In terms of inflation, there are two parts to it. With a weaker dollar means that cost of inflation is lower. I mean, cost of imports is lower. Nigeria being an import-dependent country, it could also lead to the fact that more goods are just being dumped into Nigeria, which could, and if the exchange rate is still not moving in the direction that it's supposed to be, it could mean that, so if more goods are coming in cheaper and all, inflation could drop, but it could be the reverse.
Domestic production as well, it could affect that in the same way,
And so all these things are things that we all need to consider and be sure that this is the right move. But I do see positivity across board.
Positivity across board. Do you also see, before I let you go, do you also see, other, the most powerful central bankers pointing in that direction of a rate cut? Do you see other, CBN governments making that same decision, perhaps holding rates, cutting rates here in Nigeria?
Yeah, so the good thing about it is that everybody has been waiting for America. Europe, like you remember, towards the end of last year, we're almost doing double digits in inflation. That has really gone down. Most of them are doing between 5–6%, some of them even lower. So with this now, meaning that cheaper funds will probably start coming out of America into Europe, into Asia, into Africa. So I'm looking at that the effect of the Federal Reserve, once they announce a cut, would start to affect other central banks and other European currencies, Europe, Asia, and hopefully we'll see it in Africa.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. One word: buy, sell, or hold with this decision.
Buy.
Buy. All right. Thank you, Uade Ahime. Nigeria CBN should or could begin to, take cues from Feds over the, and consider cutting rates going forward. We don't have the data to support. Do we have the data to support this move? We're not quite sure about it.
Not yet.
But we're going to leave you to share your perspective and your decision on X at Nairametrics. Buy, sell, hold. Interest rate cuts here in Nigeria, taking a cue from the Feds in the US. African markets, let's head there now. And of course, we are seeing seeing a mixed performance, although pretty much in the red. If you take a closer look at it, JSE is down, Morocco is down, and Nairobi is down as well. Egypt is up. That's what we're seeing. Ghana is pretty much flat. So that's our show for today. As always, we'll be monitoring the pulse of the market. 4 p.m. West African time every weekday. It's Market Pulse on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics. Join me tomorrow. Now the global markets.